Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about episode 3 of Narco-Saints. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So immediately picking up where the last episode left off, the whole conversation between Ingu and Gion about, why are you here? And Ingu's kind of being like very evasive about it. We're also kind of telling the truth without telling the truth, being like, hey, I'm here to make money because a certain someone completely screwed up my deal and kind of screwed me out of a whole bunch of money. So I figured I might as well get into the drug game because that's the way I can make a quick amount of money. But it's like, don't worry, I'm going to deal with, Chin. And it's like, no, you can't deal with Chin. They're only allowed to sell meth. The fact is, any cocaine that he's even able to scrape by, he only gets because of me. So you might as well just deal with me in the first place, because that way you can actually get larger quantities of cocaine and actually make a decent amount of money. So just accept it, like, get in business with me, kind of like, almost like, let's put the past behind us and let's get in business together. So it's like, right, it works out in the end. And so now, Agent Choi has to use his new, his fake identity was of Sungman, or Mr. Go, to, facilitate this whole situation. And obviously I love the back and forth from being like, okay, you should come down to Brazil. He's like, I'd love to, but I gotta be here to have service for my people. Why don't you come here to Suriname? And it's just kind of like Choi has no choice, because it's like, right, if he doesn't go, that's probably going to like ruin any chance of a deal, because also he's not stupid. Gion knows that if he leaves the country for any reason and goes somewhere that does have extradition, it could give Korea in particular an opportunity to come after him. So it's like, I'm gonna play this safe. I'm gonna send my people. But why don't you come to me? Then that way, I also have the home field advantage, because it's like, right, he pretty much has a lot of say in that country, has a lot of connection and power, and that it's like, right, if I'm here, I have the home field advantage of, I kind of control the environment. I have the home field advantage, so Choi has no choice but to accept that, which even his subordinates are like, should we really do that? If you go there and and you're kind of revealed, the whole operation fails. He's like, if I don't go, the whole operation fails, so I kind of have no choice. So he does arrive, but he has to kind of get a little scummy with how he approaches things, because he was going to be very straight-laced, but you had Inku kind of warn him, don't dress like that, because if you do, it's going to make you seem more suspicious. So you want to dress like you are someone from the underworld. So he kind of kind of really scums it up, and just kind of his go-to thing is spitting everywhere. I wonder, is that maybe a traditional, not traditional, it feels weird to say that, but is that kind of the, because it kind of almost feels maybe I'm sure Korea has their version of because it felt very Yakuza-esque, which, the kind of vibe he was trying to go for, trying to he's overcompensating, trying to be a scummy tough guy. But all that, does Korea have their own, I'm sure they have their own gang, but it's right, Japan has the Yakuza, China has the Triad, so I'm curious, what does Korea have? I'm sure they have one. I'm not well versed enough. I don't think I've ever watched anything where that's come up before. I don't think I've even read anything with any Korean gangs. I've read things with and watched things with the Yakuza and the Triads, but I mean, there's even the whole Yakuza video game franchise. But regardless, this episode was pretty tense all around too, especially with a lot of negotiations, because you're always scared that something could go wrong at any corner, at any point, especially when I want to say one of his henchmen brought him, because they ended up taking Choi's fake passport the moment he landed. So the moment it was given to Gion and they were whispering in his ears, I'm like, what happened? Did it? They kind of why would they be able to see through it? It's like, well, you're having government resources behind you, so you should be able to come up with a really convincing fake. So I'm like, how did he figure it out? And so him, Choi and Ingu were being led to this room. You're like, yeah, this feels like the whole, like, this feels like, oh, we're going to take you somewhere and then, like, put a bullet in the back of your head type of vibe. But then it's like, oh, like, they kept saying, like, our guests need rest. It's like, right, they put them under lock and key, like, lock them up, sure. And so, I mean, granted, that's better than just immediately catching a bullet, because they have a lot of questions and they're trying to find out, try to get answers first. I mean, just with the sake of everything, Gion is a paranoid person. I mean, it's like, right, you assume when you amass that much power, you assume people come after you. I don't know if he'd immediately jump to, oh, you must be cops or something, but having been on the run for so long, avoiding people, and obviously his own run-ins with that guy from the National Intelligence Planning, that, of course, that would make him a little more on high alert, because it's like, right, once you're on top, when you're at the top, when you got the crown, a lot of people are coming to snatch it from you, so you're just always on edge of like, okay, who are you? Why are you trying to get close to me? That's why he kept pushing the whole thing of, why'd you come back here, Ingu? That didn't make any sense to him. So, and luckily, Choi also has like, is like, oh, good thinking, because I was like, please don't talk freely because you don't know if that place is bugged. I was like, okay, good, you're a step ahead of me. You already got like a device on your phone to like track any listening devices, and it's like, right, they are listening to you because they're waiting for you to slip up. And so it turns out that some stuff came up with Choi's fake passport. Turns out he's been to Suriname before, and it's like, he's like, yeah, I came here trying to look for cocaine, couldn't find it, all I can find was meth, so that kind of blew up in my face. It's like, cool. So why did you go to the U.S. Embassy? Like, are you trying to, like, oh, like, you're a thief trying to, like, come here to get cocaine and stuff, and you just happen to go to the police? Like, were you trying to steal from them? And it's like, no, there's a dirty agent named Douglas, Harper, that I was trying to like do business with or whatever, but he wasn't there or something. So, and obviously it seems super suspicious. One of them ends up handing Gion a gun, which I brought it up last episode. We've seen he can get his hands dirty. It's usually up to his men to do it, but he can directly do it if necessary. So, kind of leaves you on pins and needles of like, well, how this is going to work out, and you know, Choi playing it up, being like, oh, why would I do business with these amateurs? That feels like kind of like the cliche thing to do. It's like, try and be like, oh, I'm done with this. We're shutting down all negotiations because I didn't know I was dealing with idiots here or something. But then, like, Gion went to watch a baseball game, which I was like, it kind of shows you how a little off this guy is, that in the middle of a drug dealing where you're interrogating these people, you decide like, oh, put that aside, like, let's all watch this baseball game, because his thought is like, oh, like, we should go like support any of our countrymen, fellow Koreans that are in other countries. So I guess it's like a very well-known Korean baseball player. I know nothing about sports. I'm not the sports guy, so that was kind of interesting. And so it's like, hey, why don't you guys, stay at the hotel, and you no longer have to stay here. But the hotel was just to keep them in an isolated place, kind of let them let their guard down a little bit. But the whole point was like to have be on the outside, that in case the call comes through, to kill them, because David got sent to find out whether this Douglas Harper guy was a real person or not. And that was like very down to the wire, because he was, Gion is super impatient. It's just kind of like, no, David, I'm asking nicely, sure, but an order is an order. So find out by the end of the day. David's like, getting that list of CIA agents or whatever, like from like getting that list of agents or whatever, like at the U.S. Embassy, that's not going to be easy. But Gion was being super unreasonable. It's like, cool. Oh, it's been 5 hours. What's taking so long? It's like, or our guy who's supposed to be getting information is taking a while. And it's like, oh, well, we don't have time. I don't got a good feeling about these people. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go send Gion to kill Choi and Ingu. It sucked. Granted, they were ready, though. That was going to get nasty, though. Like, Ingu and Choi are on the inside. They got their guns ready. And on the outside, Byun and his men are ready, too. And it's like, oh, God. Luckily, David got in contact with their contact and ended up telling Gion, so Gion kind of was like, okay, let's do some business. Cause jumping a little back a little bit, it was actually interesting from what's his fit? I'm assuming the identity they stole. Well, I guess they came up with like. I wonder, was that or is that a? I guess it's probably not a real person, but did they use someone else's history? Like the fact is that this person, that Choi is pretending to be, Sungman, like had he, like the fact is that he had been to Suriname before. Was that because you stole someone's history without really doing your due diligence? Like, but I guess it's like, right, to kind of sell the story that they wanted to spin later, because he knew, like, he already had it in his back pocket about the whole Douglas thing and explaining why he went to the U.S. military. Because the moment he had talked to Ingu, the previous, like, interaction, being like, hey, he's going to come pick you up at the airport, you might want to dress a little differently, they might want to dress like someone from the underworld or not someone so straight-laced. That whole conversation, it got him thinking, like, right, we probably do want to prepare our due diligence even more. So instead of getting like a super clean record, he got someone that would have some stains on their record, or at least not be completely clean, because too clean is suspicious. So it's like, oh, so you wanted him to be suspicious of you? It's like, not necessarily, but in case he did, it will work to our benefit, because this, now that he's done looked into me, that means everything's good, because it's like, oh, we seem super above board. So the dealings between you and him will go down a lot more smoothly. So that's kind of like the whole point. And luckily it all worked out. And they are going to go through with the operation, but he's planning on moving out in a month. So they're going to have to, like, all right, we're going to have to wait a little while to kind of piece this all together. Obviously, Ingu tried to go 50-50, but the lowest, the biggest split, the only split that Jion would like compromise for is 60-40. So there's also the conversation of, obviously someone connected to Jion is, you know, the other fellow agent, and Ingu wants to know who it is, but for Choi, it's like, right, two agents recognizing who each other is not a good thing. So whoever it is on the inside doesn't even know about Ingu either. It's like, that way you can protect each other. You're less likely to slip up, because you might say or do something that would give the other person away. So having that anonymity from each other does make it easier to sell your role, because you believe, hey, I'm the only one here. He knows someone's there, but he can't let his guard down because he doesn't know who it is. And I'm curious, does the other undercover agent know about, like, that maybe they know that there is another member in this group, but maybe they're not aware of, because the way he made it sounded like the agent doesn't know about Ingu either. So, either way, I just thought that was fascinating. But the really interesting thing is when Ingu confronts Choi about, like, right, he's like, I really started thinking about something. Why was it, how were they able to find out that there was drugs a part of my skate, you know, shipments and stuff? And he's like, the only way they could have known is if someone on the inside tipped him off. So now he's like, did the NIS tip them off? And it's like, oh, they did, which makes this whole thing extremely fucked. It's like, oh, wow, so, and that's why from his perspective, it's like, you're no different from Jion. The fact is that you use and backstab people. It's like, you set me up for failure. Like, I dumped every bit of money I had into this operation, so I walked away with nothing. And then you came to me acting like, oh, you're here to do me a favor when you're the ones that fucked me in the first place. I was like, that sucks, dude. That sucks major. That is, and for him, it's like, right, I might as well be working with Jion. It's like, whoa, slow your roll. I'm going to assume everything you're saying is out of anger. He's like, no, it's not out of anger. For him, it's like, it's out of practicality. I might as well sell drugs and make some real money, because, you know, all you care about is doing what's right by the nation. So it's like, right, some sacrifices had to be made, and I'm sorry, but this is what everything I've done and continue to do is for the greater good of the nation. So we're unclear who the other agent is. I'm assuming it's going to be David. At first, I was thinking that because when Ingu left the bathroom, it was David that went pissing, and then he kind of turned and looked, and like, who else was still in the bathroom at the time? It was Choi. So that's that. I don't think it's going to be Bi-yoon, but that might also explain why Bi-yoon went from working with Chin to working with Jion. That could also explain that. It could also be the guy he knows from prison when he was in, what was it, Saint Martin or it could be what was that other guy, Lee, the other like close confidant of Jeon's. So either one of them could be it. I don't think it's Byun, but it could be. Like I said, that could explain a little bit more about why he went from, like I said, from Chen to Jeon. But my money's more so towards David for now. But we'll see. The fact is, too, that he just, he did say, like, oh, I was in Colombia, like, doing business, but I'm like, the fact is, the timing and stuff like that just seems interesting. He probably got called back, obviously, but it just, his introduction just makes me feel like it might be him, and just, like I said, the fact is that him and, Troy were in the bathroom together at that moment, made me think, like, they might have had some secret conversations themselves, but it's unclear. Because this, but circling back really quickly, that argument did make me go like, oh, could he really? I was like, I know he's saying it because he's angry, and he has every right to be angry, because it's like, yeah, you put me in this position, and you came here, you asked me for help, even though you're the ones who put me in this position, and you're also now putting me in a dangerous position. But he's all for it because he will get paid, but it's like, right, I wouldn't have to worry about this at all if you guys hadn't screwed me over, but also it's about kind of getting revenge against Jeon as well. But, there's a whole situation about forcing Ingu to stay with Jeon. It's like, oh, you want me to stay here because you want to keep an eye on me because you still don't 100% trust me. So like that complicated trust has kind of been a complicated thing all around. So he's kind of forced to move out and move in with Jeon, and Jeon's like, oh, hey, like, don't you want a lady friend companion? And he was like, no, I'm a bit of a loner. At first, I was kind of like, oh, you don't want to cheat on your wife. I figured that's a main reason why you didn't want that situation to be what it is. That had to be awkward for Choi, because the moment he got dropped off, it's like, well, the moment they picked him up from the airport, they had some ladies entertain him, and next thing we see, it's like him getting out of the car, like buttoning and zipping his pants back up. So it's like, but I guess it's also, when it comes to Ingu, he also didn't want to. He wanted to make sure he was actually in his room alone, because you won't be able to talk freely. To be fair, his room is still bugged, so he wouldn't have been able to talk freely anyway. But I think it's a culmination of like, yeah, there's not another woman. I want to be faithful to my wife type of situation. So, but I think it's more so like, right, undercover operation. I need to keep it like, I want to be able to have a place where I'm free to kind of talk. But he ends up following, and he sees kind of like how wild this whole cult that Jeon has is, that he ends up like some of the other members start beating up, like, I guess because she tried to leave or something. It's like, right, you don't leave a cult very easily. They're beating her up. Her child is being forced to watch. And then we find out it's not just the adults that are getting some of that good cocaine blue liquid. It's also the children as well. I was like, that's super fucked. I was like, wow. And it's like, oh, so you're getting them young. You're indoctrinating them young, because it's like, oh, you get them young. They're molded to your will, so that when they do get older, they are absolutely yours. Like, you get them addicted from a young age, which I'm like, man, they're just layers upon layers of how fucked that is. Not only you're getting kids addicted to a drug, but they're also being indoctrinated into a cult, and now, like, being a part of it at such a young age, being forced to watch, like, their parents get beat up if they fall out of line, then it's just like, that's going to cement more into them. It's going to break their minds and make them easier to mold into who he needs them to be. It's like, man, the mental trauma that's going to take years of like deprogramming and therapy to undo all that. Super fucked. So, and part of me was wondering if that's why, like, seeing all that, like, despite all that heat that he was speaking before when it came to Choi, of like, oh, maybe I'll just work for Jeon. It's like, oh, wow, like, as a parent who has kids about that same age, of course that's going to hit Ingu a certain way. So I figured that would motivate him anymore. I'm like, nah, fuck Jeon. I'd never work with a piece of shit. Even if I'm desperate for money, and I was saying all that, it's like, I would never work for a man who would willingly drug like children like that. It's like having kids, like I said, who are about that same age. So, but he's also got to deal with the Chin situation, because Chin's like, yo, asshole, answer your phone, call me, because you're supposed to be dealing with me. Well, he proceeds to go to the casino to meet up with Chin and proceeds to get his ass beat. But yo, your boy wasn't going to take it lying down. Like, before him and Young Soo like ended up getting the shit kicked out of them in episode 1, but your boy start fighting back. He was like, nah, I ain't taking this shit. Pushing, tossing, doing whatever he could. Got the bottle ready to go toe and toe. Someone snuck up behind him, like bashed his head into like the bar, and so jacked him up. Now Chin's like, cool, I'm gonna slice you up into pieces, because it's like, oh, like, the fact is, this is my zoo, and in those alligators behind you, oh, like, so many people are in their stomach right now. But it's like, all right, I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna kill the pastor, and then you and me together, we can work together and kind of take care of this whole operation. And it's like, cool, fine. You kill the pastor. You have a very limited amount of time. Before this deal goes down, you need to kill the pastor. If you don't, I'll kill you. So, once again, that silver tongue of his getting himself out of any situation. So, but he's only bought himself just enough time. Because the problem is, getting into Chinatown is pretty hard. Like, that's just Chin's territory. So, you can't just go in there willy-nilly. So, the inside person couldn't necessarily come help Ingu. So, it's like, cool. I mean, as long as I'm outside of Chinatown, your agent or whatever can step in and help me. Cool, but when it comes to Chinatown, inside Chinatown, I'm kind of on my own. And it's like, next time we're going to keep a closer eye. We should have kept a closer eye on Chin. We'll be definitely keeping a closer eye on you from now on, keeping you saved. So, but obviously, Ingu gets taken to where the drugs are. Granted, his phone, like the NIS lost his signal. Once again, it's still that thing of like, I guess they are, because I had brought it up before. I had some worries and concerns, like, you don't think this is kind of a rogue operation by Choi? It doesn't seem like it is. Like, but it's just like when Ingo had questioned him about having a because the NIS is using some business owner who ran a karaoke bar to I'm not an agent yet. I'm kind of being brought into the fold of helping be undercover operative in this situation. So that's why it kind of definitely feels like, does the NIS fully support this? Or is Choi kind of lying out of his ass that he's kind of this is kind of a rogue operation? Maybe even his colleagues don't know they don't have the full support of the NIS. I'm assuming they do, considering the fact is that they were able to come up with the $8 million necessary for the deal pretty quickly. So I'm like, I feel like it is on the up and up. But there's just some part of me, it's like, could this be kind of a rogue operation that no one's in the know about? But either way. So the deal is going to go down, and obviously Choi and the others are ready to act. But and there was this interesting conversation between Ingu and Choi, where it was basically about I get the whole being overseas for so long, because Ingu was referencing his dad and kind of what it did to him. And he's like, yeah, me being here has not been good for my mental state. And I guess Choi, to some extent, probably knows what it's like being away from home, considering the nature of his job as well, for so long overseas. But it's when this is all said and done, you'll be able to go back home. So we just got to see this through. We're closing in on everything. And Choi was like, that I'd asked for extra payment after everything that kind of went a little sideways before. I want you to take that extra 20 and give it to Young-Soo's family, because it was his birthday yesterday. Because he had a plate set up and there was a cup and everything. I'm like, are you sitting down with someone? But then we see him pouring the beer and he's kind of toasting, and it's like, all right, your buddy, because it's his birthday, you wanted to kind of celebrate. You're trying to it's almost like, right, if you were here. I wonder, is that a traditional, once again, I'm ignorant to Korean culture, would you, I feel like that, I don't think that's just, that might just be an Asian thing in general, because I think, well, that might just be a general custom around the world. Might not just be Asian in general, but I know I think it's just an Asian custom. For those who have fallen, you pour a drink for them. But I think that's just an anyone thing, because I think that could even be a military thing too, not just a general military thing. But it's pouring a glass for his buddy, having that full spread of food. It wasn't just for himself. It was we could have been living it up, and I'm trying to honor your memory. So that's why I'm not as worried anymore about him potentially going rogue and getting seduced by all this. It's no, he does fully remember what he's fighting for. Granted, it still isn't going to be that easy of situation. We did kind of at least meet one of the people that Gion ends up doing business with. The person he's getting the cocaine from sent one of his people to kind of be like the, as he put it, like the guarantor, that it's like, right, you paid for like this, you normally don't get this large amount of cocaine, and you bought half of it with credit, so I kind of have to see this through that, like, if everything goes okay, everything has to be above board, because I have to be kind of held responsible for this, so... I love that they handed him, like, the soccer ball. It's like, oh, yeah, it's by this famous person. It's like, yeah, David was over there forging the guy's signature. I was like, what the fuck is he doing? I was like, oh, you're forging? I was like, why were you doing it? It's like, oh, because you're giving it a gift to this guy. I was like, oh, that's fucked. Because I thought, I was like, are you going to sell that or something? Like, why are you forging that soccer player's, like, signature or something? But it's like, oh, no, like, that's why. Trying to pretend like it's an amazing gift or something like that as you... give it to, it's like, oh yeah, like, give it to, like, your child or something when you go home. It's like, okay, that was interesting. And I do like that it wasn't even near the end of the season. Right here in the middle of the season, near the end of this episode, we find ourselves come full circle at the cold opening to the first episode, where it's like, right, like everything's already kind of happened to some extent. That's where we are. Once again, I wasn't expecting that to be like the halfway point of the season, so that was kind of interesting. We're still got like half the story left to go. So, but the deal is going down. Obviously, it's like so many multiple parties are involved because it's being set up at like the border between like Brazil and Suriname, and so multiple people are involved. Obviously, the DEA is going to be involved. Obviously, the NIS, but also like the Brazil Border Patrol is going to be like involved as well. So, and they're about to get down to business when the Brazil border shows up, and one of their people, it was either like, I'm assuming it's the unit. It seems like there's someone's gun is in their back pocket and they're reaching for it. You're like, oh, this is about to go bad, because Troy had said, like, right, the guns are meant to be just a ploy. It's not, they're not meant to be actually used, but it's like to kind of keep up the appearance of making this seem legit. But this doesn't need to turn into a firefight. Oh, it's going to turn into a firefight. Things are about to get bloody and nasty next episode. I don't think this bust is going to go the way anyone planned it to, but we'll ultimately have to wait and see where all of this ends up taking us going forward to the next episode. Like I said, I'm surprised that it's coming down to this, because they are moving the timetable pretty quickly, because like there was a whole thing about like, oh yeah, it wasn't going to happen until like a month. But that might have been like, right, we're going to get the coke pretty quickly, and then like the whole operation to get it set up in the US and stuff would be like a month. Or maybe it is just like, because it does seem like the show is jumping around timeline wise like a lot, just because it's like, right, we're kind of fast forwarding, so you don't in show have to wait for like that month time period. So it doesn't really tell you like how much time has passed each time. So I don't know if that month has actually already happened in the episode, because that's how long, because they were setting up the deal to be like, oh, it's going to take like a month to get everything ready. But I guess because they were jumping around time-wise so much, it felt like, oh, that... Maybe, like, they were going to get the coke really quickly, but then, like, everything else was going to take a while to, like, go through, like, set up all the deals and stuff. Either way, it's going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.